Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great week. We are back. Hopefully, y'all have seen the videos that I've been posting of our conversations with Medora Carter as we go through her book, Reclaiming Your Community. And we have gone through chapters 1 through 3 up to this point. And now we're going to discuss chapters 4 through 6. And if you are reading along with me, this has been some of my favorite parts of this. It has answered so many questions that I've had about Majora, and gives you all this insight into her life. And I think this is going to be really exciting. So let me just see. I want to make sure I don't have her on here. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? See all of my favorite people in here. Alright, sorry. I am trying to... Okay. We're going to give her a second to join. Send her a text, because real life, right? People are doing things. How y'all feeling? Is anybody reading this book? Y'all need to pick up this book. Please go down to the Boogie Down Grind and pick up a copy. Sorry, I'm texting her when you are, because this is how we do. Hi, I see you jump on in. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Yay! Okay. We've gotten to the juicy part of this book. I'm actually reading it right before we get on, so I'm having the best time reading this book.
Yay!
It's so good. We've gotten to such a good part. I am so excited to talk about this. Or to hear, you share, and to get people to get to know you. How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Good.
So I'm trying
Excited to
to
see you.
I'm excited to be here. Please forgive me. I'm without my usual gear
No,
tonight.
we've got
So,
it. We've all we need is you.
yay. Okay. So that's all you got. All good. Okay. That'll work. Yay. Okay. Oh, okay, good. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. What's all this snow?
You've got a filter on there, it looks like.
Huh.
You're
I am
glowing. You're you're glittering.
weird. Okay. James said clean the lens. Oh, the lens.
We'll learn together. There are so many new things
Yes.
on this
Right.
thing. It happens to me
Honestly,
all the time.
I have no idea what I just did. So here I am, whatever
You're
filter.
just
I
all
would
love.
say no filter, but clearly there is. So there you go. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah.
So we've got a bunch of people in here. Hey y'all. So I was giving them a little intro, reminding them that we've got some videos up on my IG Live, as well as I put them up on YouTube. So if y'all go to the link in my bio, you can click right into this series. So I'll put them up so people can just watch them and we can share them that way. And we've done our introduction part of the book. We got y'all a glossary of terms. We started on our chapters 1 through 3. You gave us a good setup. Now we are heading into chapter 4, where I think you give us some backstory and history. Those are actually my favorite parts of the book. So as we pick up on chapter 4, the title of that is When Everything Tells You the Same Thing, You'll Probably Believe It. Can you set us up for what that means and how you got to that statement?
Yeah. So gosh, it was basically that once you are told in no uncertain terms that where you come from has no value and that you are everything that you hear in the media, you believe it like after a while. And so that the desire to leave those places literally do that. And I feel like that's what this whole chapter is about, and there's a portion where I talk a little bit about being a little kid and, like, believing all the images about what was going on in the neighborhood from the media, etc., and how at one point, I would, like, fantasize about moving out, to, like, some suburb, and it actually, like, 8, and I did call, like, we would get the New York Times every Sunday, and the real estate section in the back had, like, these images of these great places. And at one point I literally called one of these brokers and asked for the plans so that my father and I could discuss if this was the right. and, and I was astonished that this guy actually sent me the plan. And
Yeah, my mind was blown when I read that too. I'm like, what kind of 8-year-old were you?
that kind of 8-year-old, but
Right.
but it was true. And but it actually, I reread this piece about going to visit my cousins out in Long Island, and to them that they had moved on up, and how, as I was reading it, the section again, and we'd come back, and I'd be able to tell we were in the Bronx. We weren't in the backyard, in their backyard that had, like, frogs and stuff in it. And that I actually cried when I read it the second time, because I was like, I was there, like, that little girl, like, aching, aching to have a place that people didn't make fun of, that was considered just this awful place, and that I knew reflected on me. Whew, it was really crazy.
Yeah.
I forgot that hurt.
Yeah, it does. It hurts to see people who are supposed to be like you having more than, I had cousins with a little brick house as well, and yet you feel that way. They had a fireplace.
Fireplace. What
Right, yeah,
fireplace?
fireplace, fire in the house. And one of my favorite parts, like, so I've been watching a lot of comedians lately, and Pete Davidson, he grew up struggling as well. So he has this statement where he's like looking at houses, and he's like, "There's a pool out of the ground. How did they get it out of the ground?" Right? Because your statement was like they have a different room, like a dining room, and that was such a statement. And I'm like, wow, that when you do have space is so important. You don't realize that but when you're a kid, you realize people have an extra space. Like, you just eat in here,
Yeah.
like that's all you do here.
Yeah. And the other piece about this that was also kind of uh, painful was just thinking about my aunts, who lived upstairs from us when I was a kid, and they were also part of the Great Migration. They lived in the segregated South, and then worked as Black women, in New York City. So they felt those sorts of stuff. But that was the first time, when I spoke to my aunt. I didn't understand it at the time, but she was talking about how, like, after 1865, that Black folks still weren't safe from being enslaved. There were northern companies, like big, huge industrial companies, literally had their factories, and whether they were, iron ores or whatever, and they would literally arrest people, Black folks, for vagrancy, and then put them to work, whether it was in the mines or whatever. And it was called the chain gangs. That's what she referred to them as. And I didn't understand that until many, many years later, when I read this amazing book called Slavery by Another Name, that detailed that all that happened until, I believe, like the 1950s, believe it, down.
Wow.
And so, but it struck me that we don't talk a lot about the things that do
Yeah.
hurt us, about Tulsa, and the Black Wall Streets that were literally burned to the ground. And and it was, yes, a bunch of people were killed, property was destroyed, but many more people actually escaped.
Mm, mm,
Who talks about
right.
that level of, I guess, psychic torture that happens when literally everything that you have is just wiped away in front of you?
Yeah.
And do you actually take that in, and then what do you do with it? And my aunt could not share that with me. I literally had to find out about that from a book that I read literally 30 years later.
Right, because it slips in one point. I
Uh-huh.
want to set this up because this also struck me as I was setting up you and maybe why you're this 8-year old. You mentioned that your father was born in 1907. He's just one generation removed from slavery. So you're raised by a man whose parents have experienced this world. He lives through the early 1900s. That's mind blowing,
Hmm.
right? Because then you're born in, like, you're in the 60s and 70s, right?
Yep.
But we feel like we're so far removed from this time. We're like, whoa, 100 years, but 100 years is really only one person. Like, one person has experienced that,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting as I was going through that, understanding that um you're not far removed from the sentiments your family from that of trying to work hard, and of the work ethic of that. So that
Yeah.
struck me, of how close you were to that. And
Yeah.
even as you said, you didn't, with that said, to your commentary, you saying that you didn't have that close relationship with your father because he was 60 years old when he had you. So your relationship changes, and then you get to know him a bit. So what
And
kind of what kind of questions, I guess, should we be asking, as what conversations do we need to have with our parents, or whomever, about what's going on? Because if they're not talking about it, should we pull these things?
yeah, it was, yes. And I feel like I wish I had sort of known what I know now, about more of our history, just as a family, because, those were these were my uncles that were
Yeah.
literally taken up on these
Yeah.
chain gangs that were in somebody's mind, for no good reason other than the fact that they were black and could be abused that way for someone else's, profit. Um,
Mhm.
but I feel like, someone mentioned, oh, hello, Harvey Whistler, talked about creating those safe spaces. I mean, they come, I think, with us understanding that that was not our fault. That was not our fault. But I feel on some level, sort of pain associated with, like, maybe we could have done something different, and that's why I think it's almost shameful to talk about it. Like, I remember, my aunt's face when I was like, well, what is that? And she wouldn't, literally, it was like the veil went down and she could not even talk to me after. And I feel like now, if we just decided that, holding people lovingly, to be like, this is not what has happened to us as a people, and that we should give each other grace, and to know that and understanding that if we don't do this, if we don't try to, like, bring people along, then we're doomed to repeat it. I honestly think that my father, even when I started doing, that's another story in the book, when I started, like, literally reclaiming, the community, like I did. I spearheaded the development of this piece on this old street on the Bronx River that then became what's now a national award-winning park. My dad never got to see it. He died before any of it really happened. But I remember telling him stuff like, oh yeah, so there's this, like, dump on the Bronx River, and, we're gonna turn this a magnificent park, blah blah blah. And he was just like, do you really think they're gonna let my baby do that? Something like that, something that big. And I know he was trying to protect me from the disappointment that comes.
Yeah.
Wasn't wrong. And believe me, I've had many disappointments since then, but still, like, literally to this day. But like,
Absolutely. That, and segueing into, just a reminder to y'all, that is the title of chapter 5, daring to name our dreams, right? And I think that's where you talk a bit about the fear that we have of disappointment, because there have been so many societal structures, like the idea of that we weren't accepted into this society, and things like Tulsa happened because it got too great, that would strike fear in one.
Yeah.
You know, I always think about that as a leader. When people are like, why don't we have a leader? I'm like, because you get assassinated. Like, because it's scary.
I know, true. Like you set yourself up as such a
Yeah.
target with
Yeah.
your neck up, and you know, and you feel and you see the scars on your neck from people trying to chop it off, and it is
Mm-hmm.
real. It is really real, but again, if we know that it comes from a good place, I think, and it really does mostly come from a good place, but wanting to protect people from being disappointed, just like Oprah told the story about her. I think it was her grandmother or her aunt who was just like, she's trying to get into, do her media thing, and her aunt was just like, "Girl, you just need to get yourself some good white people, get a good job, and with them, like." And to
Mm-hmm.
them, like,
That was it. Yeah.
it.
That's good.
And, but it's not it. And maybe we do have to like stick our, and no, not maybe, we
Yeah.
do. Some of us at least have to stick our necks up and go, "I'm gonna try something."
Yeah.
Period.
And I liked, there's a statement that you make. I can't remember which chapter it is, but you talk about acquiring the home that you have from the woman that your family helped take care of, and you talk about that you didn't intend to be some real estate mogul. You kind of just fell into it. And with that said, it's not that everyone needs to be a homeowner. Like, it might not be right for everyone. I kind of like to say that everybody has their fight in the battle, like everyone has their place, so with that said, as we we move on to convenient prey. I love that. Ooh, we lost her. We're gonna get her back though, because the title of the next chapter is called Convenient Prey, which I thought was a fantastic, fantastic setup. And it's, if you're not at the table, you're at the you're on the menu. Um, let's get Midra back up here. Uh,
I'm sorry.
we're back.
I don't know
It's
what
okay.
happened. Anyway,
It was
sorry
a
about
good,
that.
it was a good segue. We got it. I set them up anyway. With that said, right, we've talked about people tell you things, they ingrain these thoughts in you or in us that make us feel like we are in bad communities, we are bad people, and you start to believe these
Mm-hmm.
things. In addition, we go through so much that we start being afraid to actually believe our dreams. We have
Yeah.
so much fear of actually going after that. And then the title of chapter 6 is Convenient Prey, and if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
That is like, I want that on a shirt. I want that on like posters everywhere. I loved that. And you talked, I think, there about your father and your mother passing away, and then you and your siblings needing to decide what to do with the family property, and they decided to split it. And I believe you thought that wasn't the best move to make. So, let's talk about the decisions that we're making as people, in our neighborhoods, and what are these places on the battlefield that we could all take, where there's home ownership, there's nonprofits, there's where what are some things that we can do, if you can give us some of what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, it still pains me to this day, So I still live in Hunts Point, and so I get to see the house that I grew up in, on a regular, because I squatted the house across the street from it, and still have that. But I still, get to see somebody else living in the house that my parents bought back in the early 1940s,
Yeah.
and that I couldn't convince my siblings to hold on to it. And again, this had nothing to do with me wanting to be like a mogul. Literally, you're 100% right. I was just like, this is our thing. I mean, I think maybe on some like weird level, I knew like this is the kind of thing that we needed to keep in our family. But it wasn't like I had evolved to like this like whole wealth generation and retention thing. It was just like, it's a place to live, and somebody in our family's gonna may need that.
Yeah.
Period. Just that simple. But now I look back at it and I realize that much of it had to do with most of my siblings just not believing that our neighborhood was worth living in, which is not uncommon. I mean, that's the thing, predatory speculators, the ones who like, and so these are literally like these little solicitations. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
no, these were postcards that I literally got underneath my door, phone calls, etc., just saying, we'll buy your house for cash, and it wasn't quite that bad back then, but it was bad enough. Like, it was clearly people knew that this neighborhood, what you buy property, because guess what, property always goes up. But again, if we're feeling like in our own
Mm-hmm.
community that there's no reason to believe that, because it's always just going to be jacked up while we're in it. So
Mm-hmm.
why not sell grandma's house or mommy's house and daddy's house? And that's what we do. But the thing is, like, we don't even ask ourselves things like, so if somebody's willing to like call me out of the blue and offer me some money, do they know something I don't know?
Right.
But because, like, the I think the whole idea, in our heads, is that our neighborhoods have so little value that is not even something that comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
I really like
place.
that. I also believe with predatory lending as well, sometimes um, I think that with predatory lending as well as just education and going to college, we are told like debt is so bad and you could never do it that we're so afraid to even try. We're like,
Mm,
I could just never. And it's like, but you might qualify for something, like you might be able to actually,
right.
you were able to do the adverse possession, like there might be an
Yeah.
opportunity here somewhere,
Yeah. But if you don't feel like if you're not, that's so far beyond the realm of possibility. Funny story. We actually worked with the Keller Williams, like one of the Bronx offices, which is a real estate um, brokerage house, and they came. Would they literally set up shop at the Boogie Down Grind, and we're doing this like home ownership help.
Mm,
And it's like, just sort of set yourself up to succeed. Not if you're ready to do it right now, but just find out what it is
yeah,
that you do to get yourself situated, which would help you in anything, frankly, and get your credit right, blah, blah, blah.
right,
And so, but they had this big banner up, and they reported how many people would literally look at the sign, or sit down and talk to them, but just be like, I could never own a home. Like, that's just not no one in my family's ever owned a home. I could never. And they were always like, look, but you don't, first of all, you don't know that right now, and this is how you learn, and then this is how you get yourself ready. This is how you get yourself ready. And it's the same thing as credit repair, basically.
yeah,
And so we realized that the next time we do it, we're just going to call it a credit repair workshop, because it is baby steps. It's the
yeah,
people could see, like, oh, okay, if I get better credit, then, maybe I could qualify for, like a car loan or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
which is feels a little more
yeah,
attainable, but it's still the same steps to get you fiscally prepared,
yeah,
financially literate enough so that you understand how you can build your credit, are the same things that can help you build
yeah.
your
I've met people who don't know just what credit is,
no,
just
no. And the fact,
in the theory
yeah,
of
and the
it.
fact that people are like, oh, I mean, I don't want to have any debt. Like, I actually do know folks from the neighborhood who've never had a credit
Yeah,
card, everything with cash, and I was just like, you don't exist. Like, you do
yeah.
realize
You need debt.
you need
Debt is credit.
to pay it
Credit
back,
is debt.
but yeah. And the like, as you move further up in, like, big
Yeah,
developers, etc., like, really good at using up other people's money. That's what debt is, and then you use that debt to build
right,
yourself up.
right.
John Henry Soto, we miss you too. He wrote, I always regretted leaving the Bronx, the
Come
South Bronx.
on back. Let's take it back. Let's figure it out.
Next, ready, you know how to find us.
you know, absolutely. Okay. I love this conversation. You mentioned this credit repair. I love that we move into these parts of the conversation where we can give like recommendations and stuff. And you talking about this event that you had we have like 6 minutes left. I like to wrap the people up. please, you all are in here and we love y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to participate, and let us know if you do. Madra, I wanted to ask if you have anything going on at the Boogie Down or anything that we can support or, keep our eyes out
The
for.
Well, of course, President L does poets and poets are here like every Wednesday from 6 to 10. But I'm also looking forward to February 3rd, Art Cube, and their Cube Nation is doing an uptown creative meetup at the Boogie Down Grind on the from Saturday, February 3rd from 7 to 10. So, excuse me, 7 to 11. And it's so Art Cube, for those of you that don't know it, it was started by this amazing woman named Eva Radke, who worked in the film industry and realized that after shoots, even theater events, that much of that stuff would just be thrown away. So she actually started this whole thing where people in the field would be able to acquire that stuff, mostly so it stayed out of the waste stream, but also it was just like perfectly good stuff. So use it. And so actually, honestly, you don't have to join Art Cube in order to participate. You don't have to be in the industry to do that. Like, for example, if you've ever been to Boogie Down Grind, the table, that big metal table, which was actually fabricated to be a stage with people tap dancing on it, and the cute little couch that I covered in that red faux
Mhm.
alligator skin. That's also Art Cube. The stools are Art Cube. We get them from,
Oh,
telling you, that place is amazing.
that's
But
a
if you're interested in being in the film industry, getting jobs, through that. And there's a bunch of folks from the uptown, from the Bronx and the Heights, etc., who we're especially inviting them to come up and hang out with us on that day. But it's just a networking thing, but they're always fun.
I am excited for it. I will be there. That
Yeah.
is February 3rd. It's a Saturday from 7 to 11. That
Yes.
sounds amazing.
Yes.
And I think that is, I love that we're letting the people know Art Cube is also always
Mhm.
there. If you come in and look at the furniture, they are permanently in existence. I also want to remind the people you have some art on display now
Yes.
also.
Gosh, what is Dana? So, uh, gosh, what's Dana's Instagram?
I've been posting her too.
Okay.
I've got
So
her here
Dana,
because she did something new that I like.
yes, so she's got a show up at the Boogie Down Grind right now, and it'll be on there till sometime in February. I'm not sure, but come take a look. She has like smaller pieces for sale. Actually, everything's for sale, but except the pieces that were already sold. And but she's got smaller pieces for sale, and she's just such an amazing artist with this truly beautiful message around that you don't always see, and just like, which is so much about like the last chapter in the book, you don't always see or even understand the kind of pain people are going through, and what they do to mask it. And much of her work is about that.
Yeah.
And it's just, and the art that she does was part of her healing. And I just think it's just, she's so
She
talented. That's
is.
all I.
Absolutely. Her Instagram is the art of getting by, and there's
Yep.
two Y's at the end of it. She did this like Jeff Koons balloon dog that I love. I think it's
Yep.
new and up. I've been looking for something that's in my range. I want to start buying art. So I'm like looking at stuff. And that one I love because it's like a glitter
Yes.
dog and it's supposed to be a representation of like like self-healing and like mental health awareness and drug addiction because
Yep.
it's like really trippy.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah, and it's really cool. I enjoyed her work.
Good.
um cool. You had some candles in there. I just want to let people know that you got a bunch of stuff in there. There's
Oh,
candles, there's honey,
okay.
there's some jewelry in there. Come on down to the Boogie Down Grind, y'all, and support the way that we are trying to build the community
Thank
there.
you. Yes, and so, oh my gosh, those Annie Saturn soaps is out there. She's makes, like, honestly, her what is that? Like, the deep conditioner is some of the most amazing stuff I have
Oh.
ever used. Yeah, because I've got like 4K hair, and I love it, but it's just, it can be a chore, but that stuff is awesome. And then there's Tracy. I can't remember Tracy's last name. She sells the rings and stuff. And Three Candle Company has, and all of those, the candles are on sale right now. So,
And yes, Harvey, there's also
and,
coffee. Coffee's fantastic.
and yeah, and all that
There's
stuff.
coffee, and especially on Wednesdays, come on down and we have special drinks. We've got some Purple Rain. We've got
Yeah,
Rain made me a rum punch that was
yeah,
fantastic. Where we've got the paninis, they've got the pizzas, we've got some
yeah.
wings, we've got some hooked up grilled cheeses, and you know, oh, the bacon, egg, and cheese on a waffle is like that's
Oh, yes.
the winner right
And
there.
on that cheddar chive biscuit. No, you're making me hungry.
Oh,
And
sorry.
but also Thursday nights is let's see, DJ Black Icon
Oh,
and
okay.
there, and I know he live streams too, but you
Awesome.
know you definitely stop by. And apparently, I think something's going to be happening on Friday evenings too. We'll be having some guest DJs as well, but stay tuned for that because I don't have all the
Fun,
details yet. Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for filling us in because we know you've got a ton going on, and that's what we want to let everyone know. So we appreciate your time, Majora. Thank
You.
you so much. I am enjoying this thoroughly. So we will see you back again next Sunday.
Okay. Mwah. Take good care. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Ciao.
Ciao.